Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ringside Warriors. I'm your host, Chris, and the episode is a bit late this week, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, as well as a very interesting snowstorm that passed by New York today. But anyway, we're going to get through Raw, NXT, and SmackDown from last week. We've got a lot of development going on, going towards WrestleMania, and especially a lot of setup going on for Elimination Chamber. I'm excited. I haven't watched Elimination Chamber in years, so this will be the first time I'm watching Elimination Chamber in a very, very long time. So we're going to waste no time and get into the goings on the shows, and then we're going to talk about a few other things. I believe we'll talk about the kickoff event after NXT as we go into SmackDown, because obviously the fallout of the kickoff event is going to fall into SmackDown mostly. So Raw kicked off with Seth Rollins coming out and saying he needs this match with Cody. Cody comes out. They have again back and forth. Again, you've got the fans now. The previous weekend, all they've been showing is the hashtag We Want Cody, and they're all over the crowd, which now makes me wonder if they were going to go with The Rock, but then they saw it wasn't going to work, so they decided to take what the fans are doing and put it into a work, as they call it, and starting to make it look more like a work than it was like, oh, we were really going to go with The Rock. My opinion, they were going to go with The Rock. However, because of the fan reaction, they're now making it look like this whole time it was just one big work and one big setup for something bigger to happen at WrestleMania. I don't believe that. I believe that they wanted The Rock and Roman Reigns. People just stood behind Cody a lot more than they did The Rock. So they, as they say, pivoted once again. And now Cody has his Roman Reigns fight back. However, now we're going to have issues with The Rock, which we'll talk about. But Drew McIntyre came out. He kind of stood by the fans a bit. This was his big heel turn this night. He wants to fight Seth Rollins. He was like, I wanted to be the one that fought you. And Cody went off to finish his story with Roman. And Seth was like, you're not even in the Elimination Chamber yet. You have to win the Elimination Chamber in order to even get a chance at this belt. So I wasn't just going to hand it to you. And that's where Drew kind of headbutts him, and Cody throws him out of the ring. And he kind of walks off, and that's his big heel setup. Again, I believe WWE is really banking on what the fans are doing and using that to their advantage to pump up WrestleMania, Cody, and still keep The Rock somehow involved. But anyway, we had our first match, which is the New Day versus Imperium versus DIY versus the Creed Brothers. The winner would go off to face a tag team on SmackDown, which was, I want to remember, Tyler Bates and, oh God, what was the name? I want to make sure. And Pete Dunne. The winner of this Fatal 4-Way would go off to face those two, and then the winner of that would face the tag team champions. I believe at Elimination Chamber. If I'm getting that correctly, it was for Elimination Chamber. DIY wins. Imperium and New Day have their thing that they're working on. I'm sad that the Creed Brothers, I don't know the Creed Brothers too well, so this is my first time watching them. Very interesting match, but DIY wins, and they move on to SmackDown to face to get into the qualifying match. We then had Becky versus Shayna Baszler, and this was to qualify for the women's Elimination Chamber. Obviously, Becky won. Becky is now in the Elimination Chamber. And now you're going to be wondering, what about Nia Jax? Is she in the Elimination Chamber? What's going on? Rhea comes out and demands a match with Nia Jax because Nia Jax has gone too far. Nia Jax comes out, attacks Rhea. However, the match becomes official by the end of the night. Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber. So Nia Jax is going to get her title shot at Elimination Chamber, and then the winner of that match will be going into WrestleMania with the belt and facing whoever wins the Women's Elimination Chamber. I'm pretty sure Rhea's going to win, but Nia Jax has been a dominant force in WWE since she's returned. We then got an update with CM Punk's surgery. We saw him before and after surgery. He's doing well. He's in pain. He's now on the recovery process, and that's okay. I'm hoping for CM Punk to have a speedy recovery. It just, to me, seems that every time CM Punk has a match, he ends up getting injured. This happened to him in AEW. This happened to him before he left WWE before. And now his first major match back, he gets injured. Is the Royal Rumble. He gets injured. Hopefully he'll stop getting himself injured. So then Gunther came out and celebrated his 604 days being the Intercontinental Champion. Now the first place spot for holding the Intercontinental Championship the longest in history. And as he's celebrating, Jey Uso comes out and he wants to challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. I think this is great. I think this is really a way to finally get Jey into the singles competitions, really build his character since him and his brother are no longer together and no longer a tag team. What better way to build Jey Uso up than to get him a Intercontinental or United States Championship match? Obviously, the United States Championship is on SmackDown. He's on Raw. Intercontinental Championship. Take it off of Gunther, who's now first place in holding the championship the longest. Why not? I really like that. And then, of course, Imperium ended up beating up on Jey. New Day comes out to help Jey, and this could be the formation of a three-way match, a triple tag team match, possibly for Elimination Chamber, which then will lead Jey into WrestleMania to face for the Intercontinental Championship. I would not be against that, but that's left to be foreseen in the future. We had the Women's Tag Championship rematch between Katana Chance and Kaden Carter versus the Kabuki Warriors. Obviously, the Kabuki Warriors retained their belts. I didn't think they were going to lose it that quickly, especially with the stuff that's going on with Bayley. So it was a good match. Had its moments. Not exactly my favorite. However, my favorite match of the night, again, Nakamura just cannot let Cody go. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Cody Rhodes. It was a cowbell. The cow. They were, what do you call it? Oh God, why did the name completely leave my mind? Where they were tied to one another, and obviously Cody wins. Drew McIntyre comes out to attack him, and that's when Cody ends up. I think Sami Zayn came out to help Cody, and this is going to lead into SmackDown with Sami and Drew. It was a great match. This was my favorite match of the night, I will admit. This match shined the most, followed by Becky's match. Really, it feels like we're getting a lot of segments right now, other than in NXT, because NXT, which we're going to get into, we just finished a pay-per-view. So with NXT, we got more matches, but I feel like we're getting a lot of setup for Elimination Chamber, which is fine. But again, it's more setup than we're getting matches. We're getting more just qualifying matches for the Elimination Chamber. And there's going to be a lot the week I'm doing this recording. So the next episode is going to be filled with qualifying matches. But anyway, Raw, pretty good this week. Was not my favorite. Definitely my second place out of the two major WWE shows. But we'll get into SmackDown when we get into it. Going into NXT, Carmelo Hayes opens the show up. He comes out, gets booed, walks off, says, I'm not ready to talk to you yet. We then had Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus Malik Blade and Idris Anafi. Before that, we had a bit of a talking. We had a little segment with Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker talking about winning the Dusty Cup. Now they want to go after the family and get the tag titles. After the tag match, which Axiom and Nathan Frazier won, they came in, beat up on the winners, and the family comes out and accepts their challenge. So next week, it'll be the family versus Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Will they win? We'll find out. Ilya Dragunov comes out and wants answers from Carmelo Hayes, gives praise to Trick for doing an awesome match, but he's pissed because Carmelo Hayes ruined the match. Dijak comes out and says, hey, you're done with Trick. Now, remember, we have a problem. I want a shot at the belt. And Ilya's like, get in line. Dijak ends up, cheap shotting him. A fight breaks out, and obviously it sets up for the main event of the night. They get broken up. We had a match between Riley Osborne from Chase U, which is a girl who's chasing after him in the back, and he was looking for her throughout the match, versus Lexis King. Lexis King, since I've been watching NXT, has gone undefeated. He won this match mostly because Riley was looking for, I forgot the woman's name, but he was looking for her because she was supposed to be sitting out there to cheer him on, and she wasn't there because her friend was saying, play hard to get. Bad idea. Anyway, Carmelo Hayes finally comes out and does his big heel turn, talking about how Trick shouldn't bite the hand that feeds him, and that he has a lot of time to now sit at home and think about it because he's super injured. I'm sure this is leading into Trick going after Carmelo when he comes back. But yeah, this was his big heel turn. Very much what I figured was going to happen since episode 1. We then had Lola Vice versus Roxanne Perez because Roxanne Perez wanted revenge after Lola Vice came out and screwed her out of the championship at Vengeance Day. Roxanne Perez wins, of course. That was an excellent match, by the way. I really enjoyed this match. Other than the last match of the night, this was one of my favorite ones. We then had Fallon Henley with Ren Sinclair versus Jakara Jackson and Lash Legends from Metaphor. Metaphor wins, of course, due to their methods of wrestling. And it was an okay match. When it comes to NXT, the matches don't grip me as much. I notice that if I have to get a drink or something, I find myself when I'm watching NXT, I get up a lot more and let the matches continue instead of like when I watch Raw Smackdown where I'll actually pause the match because I won't want to miss anything. And then we got the main event of the night, Ilya Dragunov versus Dijak. It was one hefty match. Blow for blow. It was amazing. And then Joe Gacy ends up screwing Dijak out of the win. He comes in and gives him and hits him with some type of stick with a boxing glove. And Dragunov hits his finisher. Boom. Dijak loses. And then Carmelo Hayes comes out and attacks Ilya at the end of the show. And again, once again, solidifying his heel turn and that he's going to be going for he wants to go for the NXT championship. Interesting. I knew Carmelo Hayes was going to go heel. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes with NXT in the future. Pretty solid night. We had matches, a lot more than we're getting right now with the setup for Elimination Chamber in the main WWE roster, but it's taking me a while to get into NXT. I truly feel like I might end up maybe talking about the highlights instead of talking about the show, because as far as Raw and SmackDown, I make sure I watch them from beginning to end each and every week. Don't miss a segment, a match, anything, unless Hulu cuts it off, of course, because I'm still watching through Hulu. But with NXT, I don't know a lot of the wrestlers, and I'm really trying. But again, I'm falling into that. I'm really not. I'm not building on it as much as I am with Raw and SmackDown. But we'll see. So the kickoff show for WrestleMania happened on Thursday night before Friday Night SmackDown. You all know, for those of you that watched the show, you watched it, but everyone knows, and I'm sure that was the big point, which is what we're going to discuss here. Cody came out and made his final declaration that he is going after Roman Reigns for the belt. He's not going after Seth Rollins, and that The Rock versus Roman Reigns is a bunch of bullshit. And no, he wants Roman Reigns, so The Rock's going to have to take a back seat. He talks about Roman's family and how they're ashamed of him because of how he wrestles. The Rock gets insulted and says, "You're not just talking about his family, you're talking about my family." He does the most weirdest slap. He literally uses just the front part of his hand. I swear, forgive me. Please forgive me. I am a fan of The Rock most of the time, but that slap was such a bitch slap. It was the biggest bitch slap I've ever seen. And I don't mean that like the slap was a bitch slap to Cody. I mean, he slaps like a bitch. That slap was terrible. And of course, that sets Cody off. That sets Seth off. And I think this is going to set up for a tag match between The Rock and Roman Reigns and Seth and Cody at Elimination Chamber, ? Possibly. Or maybe night 1 of WrestleMania. But we are now, it's official that The Rock has gone back to Hollywood Rock. So heel Rock. And again, they say that it's a work. I love how, the wrestling community now is debating whether it's a work or it's a reality. And when you have somebody debating whether it's reality or a work, you know you're doing a good job. So whoever's doing the writing for this right now, you're doing a good job, because people can't tell if it's real, fake, a work, a pivot, or if this was the plan all along, or because of the way the fans reacted, this is now the plan. But anyway, The Rock told Triple H to fix the matter, or else him and Roman are going to fix it. Looking forward to seeing that in 2 weeks. And we'll talk about that now, because we're going to go into Smackdown. And the reason I talked about that kickoff show is because Triple H came out and started the night off and said, people need to know their role. He dropped a bunch of Rock little puns towards The Rock. You knew exactly who he was talking about. But in the end, he basically told The Rock he needs to know his role in creative. He needs to, whether he likes it or not, this is the way it is. Cody made his choice, and either he can deal with it or not. And that's that. And then he opens up with the setup for Elimination Chamber. The two general managers talked about what's going to be going on for Elimination Chamber. They're setting up matches and whatnot. Drew McIntyre comes out, does a little talk, and then AJ comes out, and they're the first match for the men's Elimination Chamber. Again, I love the pokes Triple H made at The Rock. Again, making people question, is this real? Is this fake? Are they doing this on, as they go now because of what happened with the fans? Personally, I'd love to see Triple H come out of retirement just one more time to fight The Rock, but that's me. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. But AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre wrestle. LA Knight is in commentary. He comes out and he sits in commentary. AJ gets thrown out of the ring at some point, and LA Knight pours his water on him by accident on purpose, which pisses AJ Styles off. They fall into LA Knight. LA Knight comes up on the ring. It allows for Drew McIntyre to hit the Claymore, and AJ Styles is eliminated from the Elimination Chamber. And he's pissed off about it. What will this mean for LA Knight and him? I believe LA Knight versus AJ Styles is going to happen at WrestleMania. But unless it happens on SmackDown, I'm not sure. But I know that AJ Styles is pissed off at LA Knight for that. Pretty Deadly. I'm never going to get used to this. I'm never going to get used to this tag team. You know what? Pretty Deadly is the New Day for me. Because y'all remember, I didn't like New Day when I did the podcast with Brant. I don't like Pretty Deadly now. And they're just annoying to me. Maybe they'll grow on me at some point. Who knows? I never thought I'd like the New Day. And look at me now. I love the New Day. So maybe. But Pretty Deadly is pretty weird for me. They do a segment about, I have no idea what they're talking about, being better. We then had another women's qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. Bianca Belair versus Michin. Bianca Belair excellent. It was an excellent match, and Bianca Belair pulled off the win. I had a feeling that Michin wasn't going to win, but I know that backstage on the YouTube channel, Michin finally is tired of being people's stepping stone, and we might be seeing a new Michin in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, honestly. But Bianca Belair won. We then had a backstage segment where Paul Heyman ends up coming in. Triple H is talking to Braun Breaker. Paul Heyman comes in and interrupts, and Triple H is like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "You know what? I'll talk to you. I'll come back next week since you seem busy. But just know, next week I'll be with Roman Reigns and The Rock." Okay. So we know that Roman Reigns and The Rock are going to be on SmackDown, the next episode of SmackDown, which is this week. Cool stuff. Looking forward to it. This is probably going to be where The Rock and Triple H butt heads. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But anyway, next up, we had a Bayley segment where she's talking. Dakota comes out and says, "What's been going on? I don't know what's been going on. I've been trying to call you. You kind of ghosted me." And Bayley's like, "You knew what was going on. You were with them." And that's when Dakota's like, Io was kind of persuaded when the Kabuki Warriors joined Damage Control, and there was really not much she could do. Kabuki Warriors and Io come out and attack Bayley. Dakota helps Bayley, and they kind of walk off together. So it's looking like Dakota's on Bayley's side, but I'm going to be honest, anything can happen. Maybe Dakota's on their side and just playing favorites with Bayley to trick her, and she, if anything right now, she's the only one I can think of that would screw Bayley out of the Women's Championship on WrestleMania, at WrestleMania. But we then had the tag team qualifying match. Tyler Bates and Pete Dunne versus DIY. And Tyler Bates and Pete Dunne, they look like they are going to be an unstoppable force. They won. Holy shit, did they win. And it was one heavy hitting match. I'll tell you right now, Judgment Day is going to have a run for their money with those titles. Good luck. This was a great tag match. I enjoyed it a lot. We then get teased that next week, Dominic Mysterio, who's like, "I'm going to win the Elimination Chamber and finally get a matching belt, get Seth Rollins' belt." But he has to qualify. And to qualify, he has to beat Kevin Owens. Now, this could go one of two ways. Logan Paul could come out next week and screw Kevin Owens, and it leads to round 2 at WrestleMania for the United States Championship. Or it could be that he beats Dominic Mysterio, because the sheer thought of Dominic Mysterio in the Elimination Chamber at this time, no. Oh, no. No, I can't see him there. And then we find out that Logan Paul will have his qualifying match next week, I believe. It's a qualifying match, or it's just a match against The Miz. And he's pissed off, but he walks away and says whatever, because he wants to get the Rock treatment. And then we have the main event, Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton, qualifier for the Elimination Chamber. It was blow for blow from beginning to end. A spectacular match. Loved it. This was my favorite match of the night. SmackDown was my favorite show of the week. However, Randy Orton was able to get the win over Sami Zayn. Upsetting for Sami Zayn, absolutely. But we all kind of knew Randy Orton was going into the Elimination Chamber. But this was an excellent match and one of my favorites from the week. And that was the end for this week in WWE. So with that, that's all we have for this week. I don't really want to spend too much time with this episode. I want to get it up. I know that I'm recording this Tuesday, uploading it Tuesday, but I will say hopefully next week we will get back on track. I've already watched Raw from this week, so hopefully I'll get the next episode out the day I want to, which is Sunday night, early Monday before Raw. Fingers crossed. Again, you can listen to this on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and I don't know where I said now. Jeez. Links are in the description below. This is also obviously uploaded on YouTube first. Links to all social medias are in the description below as well. Till next time, everybody, take care, and I will see you all really soon in the next episode.